Are you fascinated by the paranormal and want to hear about encounters that have happened to real-life people in real-life places? Do you need a drink to calm those nerves after hearing some scary stories?
You're listening to Booze and Bourbon.
Well, we invite you to grab a drink, whether it's a coffee or something with a little bit more spirit in it. Grab a blanket, snuggle in, because I'm Kim and that's Jen, and we're Booze and Bourbon.
Hey guys, and welcome back. As you know, I'm Jen, and this is Kim.
Hello, Jen. How are you this week?
Magical. Just magical.
Just like a unicorn?
Yes, actually. And I just purchased a onesie that is a unicorn on the hood, in the hoodie part.
Stop it.
Mm-hmm. You might just get one too for Christmas.
Oh my gosh, we can be twinning.
Yes.
That is so exciting.
Very exciting.
I can't wait for that moment. Don't worry, it'll pop up on social media if she really did get me one for Christmas.
I really love onesies, guys, so it's just a thing. So, yes.
Yeah, I have a really boring onesie, so a unicorn would be exceptional.
You guys can all look for that photo that will be added at some point then after Christmas.
Oh gosh, guys, I'm super excited. I think I'm excited every intro to every episode, but you all know I love a good listener story.
Ditto.
Because this stuff really happened and it's really coming from you. And I think that in itself is quite special and magical and just like a unicorn.
Yeah. And for all those that aren't really truly a believer of sorts, it's even better when you have something happen. Not that I wish that upon everyone, but it's great to hear somebody that, is now a believer because of something that, just a little situation, something scary, maybe not scary, but it's great to hear.
I know. And I have gotten a couple of emails over the past couple of weeks where people have been telling me that a certain episode we did may have turned them into a believer.
Really?
Transformed some people.
We love that.
Yes. So guys, just always make sure that you send us an email if you have anything to say about our podcast and you want to say, hey, by the way, now I believe in ghosts. Or if you have an encounter or a really great story or a really great would you rather question. So we have been getting some emails from you guys and we have some listeners' stories to go over today.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very, very much. And to mark this joyous occasion, Jen, I've dusted off the old Angel's Envy for us to drink today.
This is one of my faves.
As is mine. You get to
Just
pop
look
a
at
cork.
it.
I know.
Just a beautiful bottle and everything. Oh, that
Lame.
wasn't that good. Can I do it again?
Try.
Damn it.
Oh, that was better. Yeah, good job. I call Angel's Envy my gateway bourbon. It's the one that really got me into bourbon. It's finished in port casks, and not that I'm a huge port lover, but port is similar to wine, and I do like wine. So it just felt like it was right. And let me tell you, it was right.
So right. so right.
And you love Angel's Envy, and you also love Angel's Envy Rye, which we haven't, unfortunately, gotten our hands on here in Canada yet, but here's to hoping one of our friends goes to the U.S. and wants to bring some back. You just took the biggest inhale I think I've ever seen in my life.
I can't explain to you how delicious it smells.
Please explain.
If you could take a pecan pie with whipped cream and a little butterscotch sauce on top and bake it and then put it into a glass.
Wow.
This is what that smells like to me.
Yeah, it does. It smells really good. And I do get that really sweet kind of dessert when I'm smelling it at the very end.
Honey, everything.
It's all good. Let's take a sip. Hello.
There's a party in my mouth right now.
It's so good.
That bourbon pocket is so toasted and
It wants more.
yeah. We have to be very, we could drink the whole bottle. We'd be in trouble if we did.
Well, we'd be in trouble because we'd have to go to the States and find some.
Damn it.
I know. Road trip.
Okay.
Anyway. So, Jen,
Yes.
I want to ask you a would you rather question.
Oh, yeah.
You
I'm
up
ready.
for it?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a little morbid.
Okay.
If you had an option of what kind of embalming fluid you would have in your body after you died,
Yes.
would you rather Angel's Envy And just, play your cards. Hopefully the embalming fluid does its job because it is bourbon. Or stick with the regular embalming fluid, knowing that it would work well and that you'd be very well preserved and your makeup would just glide on so beautifully on that dead skin.
I apologize to all the family and friends, but I mean, I'm just going to go with Angel's Envy here because the part, I mean, I guess because Angel is in the title.
True.
It would help me, go there in my mind. But also that I would get to have a beautiful send-off of like the best tasting insides ever.
True. Yeah.
That only I will know. So
if you go before me, I might just tap one of those veins.
just give a little tap tap and now we're really gross. Now we've taken it to a different level.
Sorry, guys.
Okay, so mine's going to be really very different from that.
Okay.
So before I ask the question, I have to ask you, what was your very first street name that you lived on?
Oh, man. Sunnywood.
Oh, that's a good one, actually.
Okay.
And what was your first animal's name, pet name?
Brandy.
Ooh, damn it. These are both really good. So now you're forced to change your name. Would you rather have to take the name of your first street or your first pet?
Oh.
And you had Brandy and Sunnyvale?
Sunnywood.
Sunnywood. Ooh.
So either Brandy Moser or Kim Sunnywood. Oh, I like that. I like Kim Sunnywood.
Like mine would have been Coleraine or Snowball.
Snowball.
Neither would have been great, but...
So if we're going to talk exotic dancer names,
Yes.
my second street name would probably be better.
Oh, what was
So you go with your first pet's name as your first name.
Yes.
And your street name as your last name, right?
name,
Okay.
yeah.
So mine would be Brandy Viewmount.
Ooh, that is a good one.
Thank you.
Damn it. And actually, now that I think about it, I think the first street was Gorok, so it would have been Snowball Gorok. Damn it.
That's
Brutal.
That's got sexy written all over it. I like Jen Taylor better.
Thanks. I'm gonna go with that.
Okay, guys, so just after the break, we're going to get into today's topic, which are your listener stories. We can't wait to share them with you. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. So we're going to get into our listener stories. This one says, "Hey, guys. I work as a home care physio. I travel from one house to the next, providing physio to those in need. I had been seeing this one elderly lady for several weeks. All had been going well. This one rainy day, we were standing at her kitchen counter doing her standing exercises. Behind us at a diagonal was a hallway with bedrooms. I started feeling watched and started seeing something moving from the corner of my eye. I started turning to look and saw that the bedroom door that had been closed was now open. She lives alone and has no pets. I mentioned nothing and keep up with her treatment. And then I notice more movement coming from the corner of my eye. The door is closed. WTF. I now tell my patient that her door keeps opening and closing. She looks at me and says, 'My husband always told me he'd die in the night and be back in the morning.' I flew out of that house so fast." Jess.
Wow.
That's super creepy.
But funny that the woman was just like so chill about it, like, oh yeah. Wowzers.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. I have a anonymous story. He doesn't want his name in here, but he's in his 40s and he's from Halifax.
Lovely.
So he purchased a home that is somewhere just outside of Halifax, but still, I guess, in the county line. So maybe towards Timberley, I'm thinking, he said. Purchased a home. He was moving in by himself. He had done some renovations. It was a little outdated. Worked a lot of shift work. So most of the times he was coming home to go to bed, it was fairly late at night, and he would sleep until like noon the next day. So he had a habit, for sake of saving money. I do the same thing, you know, with your heating. You might shut a lot of your doors in your house and like try to keep the heat in where you want it.
Definitely.
So he had an occurrence that started happening about 3 months in from him living there. He would go to work, come home, and go right to bed. And at least for about the first 2 months, every morning he would get up, or I guess afternoon in that sense, he would come downstairs. All of the doors that initially had been shut were all open. And sometimes he would just play it off like perhaps he forgot and whatever, but then he started keeping track and knew that he was shutting these doors and they would still be open every single time.
Okay.
So then to add to that, all of a sudden now his alarm would go off at random hours when he was sleeping. So he never had an alarm set. He would just get up on his own, because typically he would wake up in around noon to 1 p.m., but his alarm would go off at like 6 a.m., 7 a.m., weird times, and no real reason for that. And then to add a little creepier note, so besides the doors always opening on their own and then the alarm, then the kitchen cupboards some would be randomly open.
Oh, no.
I mean, if I was a ghost and I was really into the snacks, I could see the snack cupboard being open, but like these were just like random cupboards. So like one day it might be the cup cupboard, one day it might be where the pots were.
So it's almost like whatever this is might be a poltergeist and also really wants to get this guy's attention.
Right. But he did a little digging and then found that he had purchased the home from a gentleman who had actually passed in the home, like from normal causes, like just old age.
Okay.
So then started thinking that perhaps like maybe this gentleman is like still thinking that he's there. So he's opening and closing doors. That's his actual alarm that he's setting for himself.
Oh.
And he's opening cupboards thinking that he's going to make his coffee or make a bowl of cereal, or like, because it would be like he started picking up on it and was like, this seems like something that, like, it's not like scary in the sense he's not like putting things on the table or like doing extra. It's
like
just
somebody's normal, going about their business kind of
their normal
day.
routine.
Yeah. Wow.
So anyway, yeah, still goes on, and he's just embraced it now. So there it is.
Hello. I found you guys because of the Ghost Story Guys crossover and instantly loved it. Oh my goodness, thank you. Which reminds me, my favorite bourbon is Maker's Mark. Great taste.
Yes.
I have some trivia to share in case you didn't hear this on your tour. If you did, just skip this paragraph. On our first tour of the distillery, the guide told us the first thing Bill Samuels Jr. did after purchasing the property was burning his family recipe. He was afraid his drinking buddies would get him drunk and steal the recipe, and if he wasn't going to make it, no one else was either. People thought he was being irrational. However, his drinking buddies included Evan Williams, Jim Beam, and Jack Daniels.
That's a good group of friends right there.
That's so cool. I love that. So now to my story. My husband's grandfather was in the hospital, and we all knew that he was going to be passing. My husband and I were taking our turns sitting with him, as there were so many visitors that the staff requested we rotate so as not to crowd the room. A nurse came in, made her rounds, and left. He was propped up against the bed and on oxygen. I noticed after she left, his right ear was bent in half, with his head against the pillow. He was not conscious. I told my husband that having my ear bent like that would drive me nuts, and I wouldn't be able to rest like that. I went over, turned his head enough to let his ear unfold, and turned it back. Several days later, he passed. We all cared for him, but we took comfort in the fact that he wasn't in pain and was again with his wife. I don't remember how many days it was later, but I woke up from a dead sleep. My right ear was folded over. I lifted my head, wrote it off as coincidence, and went back to sleep. I didn't tell anyone. The next night, the exact same thing happened. Considering that I've never had that happen to me before the previous night, I couldn't write it off. The next morning, my husband asked how I slept. I told him I would sleep better if his grandpa would quit fucking with me. I explained what happened the previous 2 nights, and he just nodded. It didn't happen again for a few months. When it did, I said, "Hi, Noel," and went back to sleep. It's happened a handful of times since he passed, but he hasn't visited in well over a year now. I felt then and now that he just wanted to let us know that he's still around, and maybe he was testing me when I said that having my ear folded would wake me up. One more thing, if you haven't tried Sweet Lucy, look for that one. It's a very sweet but delicious bourbon. Keep up the great work, ladies.
Thanks.
That was so nice. And I would love to find Sweet Lucy. I've never heard of it before.
We need to write that one down. It sounds like it would be good.
Anything
sweet
called Sweet with the cool name like Lucy? Let's do it.
Right up our alley.
Uh-huh.
All right. Next story. Gives me the heebie jeebies. Just got to put it out there.
And I love that I haven't heard these yet, so keep it coming.
And it makes me think of one that we shared. I don't even know what episode it was, but one that I think it actually came from my dad. And this came from one of his friends. So given that it's hunting season right now, it works perfectly. So these guys, there's 3 guys, they're friends. Again, anonymous story because I think that they don't want to admit, but they wanted to tell me anyway.
Love it.
So they have a hunting cabin that's down towards Cape Breton, like just before Cape Breton. I don't know what that area is called, but right before you get to where like the gas station and all that stuff is at the causeway. Whatever is right before that. So they have a hunting cabin that's pretty far back in the woods. So you would have to like drive there with your truck and then they unload their 4-wheelers and they drive back fair distance into the woods to their cabin. So there's 3 of them. They go all every time. They go all together. They go on their weekends whenever they can. So anyway, they're in their hunting cabin. They've all packed it in for the night. Definitely had some drinks before, as most do, and got themselves all ready for bed. So, of course, this is a hunting cabin. There's no washrooms inside. They don't have lights, really, other than candles and, like, a few flashlights. So they're all sound asleep, and one of them wakes up in the middle of the night because he's cold, because the door's open. And when he looks up to the door, there is what he thinks is his buddy standing in the doorway. He instantly gets mad and says, "Man, will you shut the door? It's freezing. And if you got to pee, just go outside. Don't pee on the deck."
Right, yeah.
And he's like irritated. However, when he says this person doesn't move, doesn't look at him, is just still standing in the doorway.
That just gave me chills.
Yeah. But is staring out the door. So he's standing in with them, but looking out. So he says it again and then thinks like, am I losing my mind or am I like not speaking loudly? Like, you know, when you're half asleep and you're like, is he asleep? Like, does he not hear me? So he says it again. He's like, "Bud, shut the door. It's freezing." And then he sees this head turn towards him and realizes from the profile of his nose that it's not either one of his friends. And the head just turns back and then slowly walks out the door. So he jumps up, wakes up his buddies, and said, somebody just broke into the cabin or was just in here. And they all run out. And of course, again, think like you're very far back in the woods. There's no way that person would have got there unless they also came on a 4-wheeler or walked miles through the woods by themselves in the dark. So they're all standing out there in the cold, looking around, and see nothing. And that person would have had to be there. There was a big field in front of them. So if they were to have been walking or even running, you would still see them just at that point, like going into the woods.
Yep.
So fair enough to say, he said after that point, they didn't really like staying in the hunting cabin. And when they did stay there, they slept with the light on like a bunch of 12-year-old boys.
I can't blame them, though. Oh, my gosh.
Also why they don't want their name said. But you guys want to sleep with the light on in the woods? I get it. It's totally fine.
They're not the typical man that would want to talk about this.
No.
Dave is, your dad's quite buff, let me tell you that. And he wears this leather jacket, and he's got swag, Jen. Your dad's got swag.
Still works on his curls to the girls at the gym like he did today. But yeah, no, they would definitely not want to admit that there was ever a situation where they were afraid.
Wow. I love it.
And they were definitely afraid.
They were definitely afraid.
Strange man in the woods. There you go.
There you have it. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode all about our listener stories. We absolutely love listener stories.
We do.
Bring us more.
Please do. And Angel's Envy if you guys see it.
Yeah.
Or, anything, really.
Get it across the border. We'll take it from there.
Thank you.
All right, so now we're going to get into our Patreon shout-outs. Jen, who do we have?
Well, we have Rebecca, we have Stephanie, we have the Ghost Story Guys, we have the ABV Network, we have Aaron with an A and Aaron with an E.
And Cindy.
And Cindy.
And I just wanted to take this moment to say I won a Ghost Story Guys t-shirt. I never win anything.
Oh, I'm jealous. I want a t-shirt.
Maybe I'll get you one for Christmas.
Okay.
Since you're going to get me a unicorn onesie.
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you to the Ghost Story Guys for putting me in that draw and for me winning it. I will wear it with great pride.
Well, and you can send me one too if you feel bad. But if not, we're just going to wear our onesies and she can wear a shirt over it.
Okay, that sounds like a deal. And also, Jen, people want to find us on Instagram and stalk us. Where can they find us on Instagram?
Well, of course, Booze and Bourbon. And on Facebook, Booze and Bourbon, the podcast. Yep. And then any of your lovely podcast providers like iTunes, Google Play, Spotify,
Stitcher,
yes,
YouTube.
I always forget that one.
You can always hit subscribe. And also, if you want to be so kind to leave us a review and a 5-star rating, that definitely helps our placement on the charts. So we would be forever grateful. That is definitely the best way to support us, not just through Patreon. And if you do want to support us on Patreon, you just need to go to patreon.com/booze and bourbon, and you'll see all the fun things that we do there. We have 2 tiers. The first one starts at $5. The second one goes up to $10. There are some great benefits behind both. So definitely head on over and check that out.
You get extra love from you and me.
Extra.
Who doesn't want that?
Well, I'm sure there's lots of people out there. I was quite surprised at how angry and mean people can be on the Reddit world and even on some Facebook groups once the podcast for Oak Island was shared.
Oh.
We got a lot of love, but we got some people that weren't so friendly.
Oh.
Made me want to crawl underneath of a rock and die, but it's all good.
You can't please everyone.
I know. You can be the juiciest peach, but not everybody likes peaches.
Oh, that was a good one, Kim.
Thanks.
Well, we thank you all, and we really do appreciate it. From the bottom of our now very, very soaked
Angelic
Angel's Envy hearts / bourbon pockets.
Yes. I'm Kim, and that's Jen.
Thanks, guys.
We're signing off from Booze and Bourbon, and we will hear you, or you guys will hear us next Friday.
Booze and Bourbon is part of the ABV Network. For more information or to advertise on the show, please head over to abvnetwork.com. Thanks for listening, and cheers.
This has been a Steve Akeley production.